Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Notify webinar. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes for anyone else that's joining and is running a touch late, and then we'll get started. You want to give it a 10:02, Paul? We'll get going?
Yeah, 10. We'll give it a 10:01. We'll give it a 10:01. We can always let people in as they go through.
Yeah.
That's another one.
We've got a few coming in.
Yeah, we'll crack on there, Johnny.
Yeah, let's go, Paul.
No, well, good morning, everyone, as my colleague Johnny's just said, and thank you for joining today's webinar from Notify, where we'll be looking for moving from reactive to proactive safety. We'll be looking at 5 ways to build safety engagement with apps and insights. I'm Paul Duff, Customer Success Manager here at Notify, and today I'm joined by one of our product experts, Johnny Ridley.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. Yeah, so as Paul says, I'm one of the product experts here at Notify and have implemented the Notify system across multiple different sectors and industries, whether that be manufacturing, construction, logistics, education, government. So really, what I'm going to take you through today is going to summarize how I've implemented those and solved problems for people across multiple different businesses and sectors.
Thanks for that, Johnny. So I guess before we dive into the webinar, and for those who don't know about us, we are Notify. We're a digital safety, health, environmental and quality management system that is designed to make people healthier and safer at work. Our solution enables you to digitally capture incidents, create dynamic audits, checklists, inspections, as well as centralize risk assessments and method statements. It's always on and is designed to make people healthier and safer at work. As you can see on the slide on screen there, we partner with over 100 organisations across the world, really, over 100 countries now, to help keep over 200,000 workers safe every day. There's some great stats on there, capturing 40,000 SHEQ-related activities each month, and that's continuing to grow. So that's a little bit about us and who we are and what we do. But now let's look at what we'll be covering today in the webinar. So the first point Johnny will be running through is how to increase employee engagement by using mobile safety apps. Safety apps are now on the up, and mobile app technology in general, a lot of people now have smartphones and a lot of people are using these for day-to-day activities. So how we can look to incorporate that with safety apps. How to demonstrate compliance with an auditable trail of incident investigations and actions, ensuring that should you ever need it, you've got one source of the truth and everything is in one centralized area for you. So if there is an incident, all your actions, all your attachments, all your risk assessments, any audits or anything are all together. We'll also be looking at how visualizing and interrogating your safety data can allow you to easily spot trends and move from that reactive approach to more proactive, which is key for reducing safety. And we'll be pausing at the end to answer any questions and answers which you may have. So there is the option to do Q&A on Teams. So you should see a chat function and a Q&A function. If you could pop some things in there and we'll answer them live on screen towards the end. But I think that's me run through the agenda now, Johnny, so over to you.
Perfect. Appreciate that, Paul. So yeah, as Paul touches on in the agenda here, the first point that we're going to touch on is the increasing the employee engagement by mobile safety apps. And that's the place we're going to start. We're going to start with the Notify Incident Management app. How do we report things in? And the key element to this, as you should see this come across the screen, we've narrowed it down to 4 ways in which we've helped people increase engagement, in some cases by tenfold. Making it simple, making it quick, guiding the end user on the data that they need to that you want them to collect, and making it configurable for each individual business in each sector. So what you should be able to see on screen here is the Notify app. Now, firstly, what we want to do is make this accessible. So this is a native app downloadable via the iOS store, the Google store, but also it's accessible via QR code or the desktop. So in whichever way your end users are most comfortable and able to report, that's the way we want them to get the data in. So in this case here, what we're going to do is going to run you through the reporting process of a near miss and how we make it quick, simple and configurable. So if I click into near miss here, what I'm going to be met with first is a date and timestamp of when did it happen, who it was reported by, And would we like to remember details for next time? Now, the key to that toggle at the bottom below is, so once we've reported something in here, we want to make it quicker and we want to make it easier for people to report. So you can see my details are preloaded from the last time I reported in here. So we say you should be able to report something in 60 seconds. Now, as I click next in here, what we're going to see is descriptions of what was happened in terms of the near miss and what happens if we click yes to is something still unsafe. Now, if I click on please describe what happened here, you'll see a predefined list of drop-down options for people to select. And this is the third point I mentioned previously around when we're talking about guiding the end user on the data that we want to collect. So we can't expect the end users to be safety experts, as many of you are in the room. But what we can do is guide them in terms of the data and how simple we want that. So let's say, for example, here, I'm going to select a trip hazard. Okay, I then come into a second page and okay, what was the trip hazard? Okay, it was something that was on the floor. And okay, we get to the last bit. Okay, was there anything there in terms of why you identified that what the root cause of that was? Okay, I can see here there was no signage there on the trip hazard. I'm going to click into incorrect or missing signage. So we're really guiding them through some really quick and easy steps and how we're going to allow them to be able to collate that data. As we also see below, we have, is the situation still unsafe and are we concerned? Now, at many points of this, what we're going to see is we might want notifications to go to relevant safety teams or relevant managers across the board. So if I click yes to this and yes to am I concerned about the near miss, we can auto route this into relevant safety managers or people that need to have access to high priority incidents. And you can create those workflows yourself, and we can do that in the platform for you. What you'll also see below in the additional information piece here is that I can add any free text I like, but below the return button, if you look there, you can see a dictaphone. Now, if you've got many users on site that articulate their message way better from speaking as opposed to writing, we want to encourage them to talk into this so then we can get the best data possible and it's the easiest way for the end user. So you're going to see a common theme here. How can we make it as easy as possible for the end user? I then click into next and we get into specifying really where in the organization this took place. Now, if I click into this here, what we'll then see is I can select from my org chart. So where am I in the business? So I live in Amble. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and select the Amble site. I'm also going to say that I'm on the campus part of the Amble site. Mark that as done. But actually, what we might want to do, we might have businesses where might have pop-up sites or satellite sites where you're not always going to know where they are. So it's really important for us to be able to drill down into that data further. So I can manually input the address of where I am, or I can simply click on the map and that'll geotag to my exact location. Again, below there, when we're providing the additional information, we can help pinpoint. So, for example, when we've onboarded this with a lot of logistics businesses, what they have is they've got drivers who are going up and down the country. So actually, they might not be able to pull in until a slip road, which is 1.5 miles down the road. So what becomes really important there is that we can give that text and describe that, okay, I've not been able to pull over for a certain amount of time. This is where it took place. I then click next and it gets me into some pictures. Now, what I'm going to do just for the purpose of today's session is just take a picture of my mouse. Now, I'll use that. And then what I can do there is you can see that, again, there's free text spaces. So we know when we're reporting incidents or near misses, we may want to have photographs of the surrounding area, what may have caused this to get the best data possible. And then I click next. And what that brings me into is a summary page. Am I happy with everything I've submitted as the end user to submit to my manager? If yes, I can click at the bottom and I can click submit. If no, I can click back and go through at any stage that I would like. So to recap, just before we submit here, what I'm going to cover is, and I hope you think the same, we've just made it really, really simple there to report, made it really quick. We've guided them on the data from the drop-down lists, and we'll understand why that becomes much more important when we get into the data. But also, we can make this configurable for each business. So if any question sets need to be changed, or if you work in the rail sector, you might refer to a near miss as a close call, and you might want that to be tweaked. So configuring that for each business to make it feel like it's your own system makes it paramount for the end user. And once I've submitted here, what you'll see on screen is that I've got an automated thank you message. Now, what's going to become apparent through this session is when we get into the one source of the truth, how are we letting the end user know? And the first step is thanking them for reporting the incident. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take us into the system itself. And we're going to cover off the second point, which is the one source of the truth, and how do we get that really into a position where we feel comfortable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a share, and this should pull through. So he says, has that pulled through? No, it hasn't. Let's drop a share on here. Perfect. So that should now have pulled us through into the Notify management platform. And this becomes really, really important for us because this is where we're talking about the second bullet point, which is the one source of truth. Now, this is most commonly important for people that might have data in an internal SharePoint system. They might have then go and interrogate the data in Excel. They might then use another platform. And all of a sudden, we've got data dotted around all over the place. So if we were to be externally audited on any of this, we might be running around chasing our tails a little bit looking for the data. But in here, when we log into the management platform, what we're going to notice is we've got some sort of top level data that hits us straight away. So I can come to my tasks that are assigned to me and say, I've got 6 near misses that are still open. And I can also, I might want to come in and just look at how many open lost time incidents do I have. So the real purpose of this landing page is to make it quick and easy to see the top level data you've got as soon as you log in, but also make it so you're only 1 or 2 clicks away from actually doing anything once you're logged in, because we all going to log into this system every day as safety managers, and we're going to really want to get to the point of what we want to achieve. Across the left-hand side, you can see the different modules, but as we've spoken about, the main focus of today's session is in the incident module. And as I click into here, you can see we've got a whole different host of filtering options at the top. And what you'll notice is, if you've got a keen eye here on the left-hand side, is that each individual incident that we report has its own unique code. And this refers back to the auditable trail that we're coming on to and the one source of the truth. Now, if you were to be externally audited and anything was to be raised within a certain incident, what we can then discuss is everything will be sat in one place under that unique code. So I'll click into this here, and what we should see is, firstly at the top, we can change the incident type if we need to. We know that the end users, they're not going to be perfect. We're all human. People may misunderstand some hazard spots for a near miss and they might misinform, but it's really important that you're able to change that. We scroll down and we get a few options in terms of pulling through as high priority based on our answers in the app, escalating to RIDDOR, and using the attachments. So this becomes really important as well. If we want to attach any video evidence, we want to attach CCTV footage or witness statements, we have this all in one place and we're referring back to that one source of the truth. As we scroll down, you can see the near miss details that were reported into the app. And this is, I guess, the spoiler of this section of the webinar. And this is the audit trail that we have within our the platform. So from start to finish, open to close in any given incident, you're going to have when did something happen, who it was that did it, and a description of what was done. So you can see here, we've created some notifications to go, okay, this near miss has been reported, but based on my answers, it's gone to a few different people, and it shows you straight away here who are the people that it's going to be sent to. We can also leave comments to one another if we're working on this with, say, another member of staff. And if we don't feel the need to investigate, what it becomes paramount to closing the loop and having that one source of truth is being able to create actions from within. So let's say, for example, I'm going to create an action called, please can we replace signage? I want to send that to myself. It knows the location because I've built it out through the incident itself, and I can set a priority on that. Now, what I'll do is I'll save this action under health and safety as a category. And now, so when we send that out to any relevant member of staff, what we'll do is this action will always be logged and tracked within the incident itself. So again, we're referring back to that one source of truth, how important it is to have everything under one roof and in one place. What we're going to do next is we're going to come to the investigating part of the incident here. And when we come through this, what we find really important, and you might find this with some of your audits, you might find this with any forms that you fill out, people and end users and people become fed up when you answer a question a certain way and the next 3 questions become not applicable. Now, so if I say here, was the area made safe? And they click yes, it's going to pop up what was done to make it safe. If I answer no, it's going to pop up with why wasn't the area made safe. So based on the answers of your questions, we've built the logic in there, so you're not going to be wasting your time ticking not applicable as we run through any forms. As we scroll down, we've worked really closely to keep this in line with HSE guidelines. But again, you can configure and make changes to ask really specific questions to your business and to your industry. We're not trying to limit you on what you can ask. We get to the immediate, the underlying, and the root causes as well. And again, these are predefined drop-down fields which you can select and you can edit and manage yourself. But a key thing, and we're going to pause it a little bit here on the feedback for the reporter, because a lot of businesses where I've implemented across multiple sectors, they come and they ask, okay, we're really, really struggling with employee engagement. And one of the first questions we'll ask back is, okay, well, how are you letting the end user know that what they did was a good thing? And I'm sure there's many people on the call today going, okay, we could probably be better at that. And it becomes really important when we're trying to create that business culture, as opposed to just calling it safety culture, creating that business culture where everyone's responsible for safety. So we know that at the end of when we reported on the app, they get a notification as the end user to say, thanks for reporting this, keep up the good work. And we can do that once the investigation is complete as well. And then once the culture shifts a little bit and becomes everyone's reporting, you're getting the adoption that you needed, we can start to be a little bit more constructive in here and say, thanks for reporting this. Could you include a little bit more detail next time? But the important thing is we've reported in the app and they're going to be notified that what they did was a good thing. The investigation's complete and we're notifying the end user. And then when the incident's closed out, the end user gets notified as well. So we're keeping that end user as informed as we possibly can throughout the whole process to make them feel a part of it. It's not a case of they've handed over a paper card to us and then they never hear of what happened again. That's where the stigma comes from. So that's sort of the end of the second section, where it was talking about data in one place, having one source of the truth, and how important the auditable trails are. And the last bit we're going to cover really is the data, how we can interrogate the data, and that corporate view versus the health and safety day-to-day needing to get under the hood and get that granular detail. Sorry. So what I'm going to get to here is, you can see these are our incident management dashboards. Now, as dashboards themselves, as far as your corporate views going, if you're building a board report out, this is the top level data that the board and the senior leadership team are going to be looking for. You can see across the top here, our reportable incidents, total lost days and lost time, with our accident frequency rates for RIDDOR and lost time incidents. But what I'm going to do for us to get under the hood of the data, I'm going to click into the filter and I'm going to allow us to get into here by going into the Amble site, which I reported into, and I'm going to click apply on that. And you can see it filters straight away. Now, what I'm going to do for the health and safety and the day-to-day, how do we get under the hood of this data? Now, what we can do is, if I just expand on this and go into the event trends, you can see we've had 73 near misses reported, and we've had 17 incidents or injuries. Now, we might look at that rate and go, it's a touch high, but we're in a good spot. But how do we know that without getting under the hood of this? So what I'll do is I'll click down into the injury. And what that should bring up is the categories which we pre-selected when we were in the incident app. So because we're allowing the end user to select in the app, we're now being able to drill down into that data. And this is the really important thing for closing the loop and making proactive decisions. So you can see here at the top, somebody tripped is the most common. And what I can see here is it's color coded so that I can understand the breakdown in terms of what became a lost time, what became reportable, and what was just an incident. Now let's click into somebody tripped. And then from there, I can see, okay, well, what was the cause of that? It was equipment, machinery, and it was the floor with the breakdown of that. But the most important part here is if you are looking to build these out into reports and sharing these out with relevant managers across the group, at each different stage, we can click the three dots here and you can build these out into reports via exporting into PowerPoint, Word, PDF, CSV, or simply when we were looking at that corporate view, the overview, we can just snip that and that gives us some really good data. The next piece that we want to look at is the utilization, and this becomes ever more important when we're looking at product adoption, when we're looking on return on investments here. Is the system being used and to what end? So you can see here, as the system starts and gets adopted, we see the spike in the line here. And what that line is our unique reporters count per month. And as we adopt the system, we'd expect to see a slight increase and then it to drop off a touch. And it's almost as we're solving problems. So you'll see the spike, there's the problem. We'll then solve the problem and we see it drop down. But it's important to measure this data on a month by month basis to understand who's reporting and what are they reporting. And then the last bit for the safety leader helps us really get under the hood of the problem here, because I'm going to delve into the events leaderboard and expand on that. And you can see I'm filtering by the Amble site. This is where I'm based. And I can see the breakdowns. So 93 total incidents reported, 73 of those are near misses. And at a granular level, we're looking at and going 78% of everything we report in near miss. We're pretty happy with the culture there. But until we get under the hood, do we really understand the problem? So when I click down into this, what we'll start to see is the breakdowns of each area of that site. So where I report into in the campus, you can see we've had 11 near misses reported and no incidents. So we're going, that's brilliant. That's the culture that we're trying to create. But it's not always the same at each site. So we'll go into this department in the fire area and you can see 60% of everything they report is an injury. They've only reported 2 near misses. So what are they not doing that the campus are doing so well? And it's only once we have access to this data do we really truly understand how can we make decisions and where do we need to make them. Because if we were to roll out an incentive, for example, based on reporting that we know lots of businesses do, the campus and the plant site there aren't going to be interested in that because they're doing that anyway. So where do we really need to pick and improve? So from a top level overview perspective, looking at data, looking at the corporate view versus day to day, and how can we make proactive decisions using data? They're the bits that I wanted to cover. So what we're going to go back to now is we're going to hand back to Paul Duff. And what Paul's going to cover is just some key takeaways from the session and what we're going to do next.
No, that's great. Thanks, Johnny, and a great demonstration. So some key takeaways as Johnny's covered, just to reflect on what we've looked at this morning. So the first thing we started on was our mobile app, and our SHEQ software can increase employee engagement. And we've seen that happen across some of the organisations we work with by a tenfold. We've had people reporting from members of the public to students on campuses, to employees, to subcontractors, and even third parties. So the engagement levels can really go through the roof. These all create free learning opportunities, which can subsequently lead to fewer accidents in the workplace. The second part we covered was the audit trail. So the audit trail of incidents and investigations and actions. You can see the time, and they can help you support with your compliance requirements. Should you ever need them for any insurance claims, for any external investigations or anything like that, you've got all your data in one place, time stamped, who done it, who knew, when and where. And the final part, which is key really, getting the data in, but being able to use safety intelligence to look in and dive in there, getting a centralized view of all safety data, looking at your easy to track KPIs, your leading and lagging indicators, identify them, improvement opportunities, and move from that reactive to a more proactive approach when it comes to risk. What we wanted to give you all though today as a little thank you and a little departing festive gift. It is the season to be jolly. We've got our Christmas party on Friday, and I had my Christmas jumper on last week and forgot it this morning, so we're now Notify tops. But for those in attendance today, we've got a little gift for you. So if you do speak to the Notify team and you want to find out a bit more, if you quote that on screen, NTIM Web, when you speak to the team, there'll be a little gift waiting for you. And then we'll refer now to the Q&A section, where I think we've got a couple of questions waiting in there. And so we'll start with the top one is, how secure is the data on your platform? So I guess what we do to make that data secure, the hosting and stuff. Johnny, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, I can do. So it's hosted in the cloud via Amazon Web Services, and I guess they're the one of the biggest cloud providers in the world. So as far as safety and security goes, we are really confident, and we've got, what is it, Paul, 99.9% uptime as well. So I'm happy to go into any more data and any more detail about that. If anyone wants to drop me an email or give me a call after that and want to really understand the security and how that works. So yeah, reach out to me after the call.
Yeah, loads of technical data we can send from our technical
Absolutely.
isn't it, about our CREST certified
penetration
testing and all that. A little bit too advanced for me personally.
Yeah.
So, but the next question is, we've just had another one flying there. Can the data in Notify be linked to other company systems providing real-time connections? So I guess this is potentially looking at links and feeding data from different systems.
Yes, it's a great question, and I really appreciate that. I guess it depends. The short answer is yes, in terms of, but I guess it's looking at what we need the data to do. So we have what we call a data hose as a service, which can automate the export of that data out of the platform. Lots of people use platforms like Power BI that they want to link it to where the data is going there, because as a business, they have a standardized way of reporting. So we have the links that way. If there's anything that I've not covered in that answer, again, please reach out to me, because there's so many things that we can do with these links. So it'd be really interesting to understand what you were looking to do with them.
And the second one there, how to make data and information confidential between business units?
Yes, great question again. So we can lock this down based on your permissions. So for example, if Paul's looking after the Newcastle site and I'm looking after the Amble site, but our marketing guy Callum looks after the whole business, what me and Paul will be able to see is just our relevant business units, whereas the super users and the safety managers more typically in this case will have the oversight of all the business, and maybe the site managers might just have a look at their relevant areas. So that's done based off of a user permission basis.
And can you lock things down, such as potentially mental health incidents, on a confidential basis?
Absolutely. So when we were in the incident there, and I'm happy to go into some more detail about it, we can mark things as confidential, and actually based off their certain answers to questions, we can trigger those confidentiality statements. So for example, lots of our customers have implemented a mental health reporting template into the app, so that if you're a big business with lots of employees, they can report that straight in, and that form goes straight into being a confidential incident that can only be accessed by a certain number of people that you decide in the business.
That's great. Next question is the workflow to the reporter automatic as investigation statement changes? It will automatically update the reporter. It doesn't need to be sent manually.
So the workflow is created there. So as we close out and as the investigation's complete, so long as we've given some feedback to the reporter, that will automatically go back to them. So we can send it manually, but if you're completing the investigation out and submitting that and closing it, that will automatically go into the reporter. Yes.
Great. Can you report incidents offline?
Yes, absolutely. So when we're reporting, we find it really important that lots of our customers, they'll work in different spots or have manufacturing sites where there's no signal. So what we do is we've got offline capabilities where we can report in, and then what that'll do is that'll sync back up with the platform once we're back online.
That's great. And a separate follow-up from that person was, does the app work on Android as well as iPhones?
Yes, so downloadable via the iOS and the Google Store.
That's great.
I think was the second one there.
Is everything customizable? For example, the investigation template, can we add, remove, amend the suit? So obviously we've got the 5 wires and fishbone at the moment, as standard really.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything that you've seen today can be configured, can be tweaked and changed. And I guess just referring back to the first point that we made at the top of the call around configuring it for each business, we really mean that. That's why we work with so many and find success with so many different businesses across so many different sectors, because we can configure it to exactly what you need.
Absolutely. We've got customers from zoos to safaris, all the way across the organisations that work on the railway, manufacturing, engineering, and in between.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of people carry configurable, like you said earlier, close calls, near misses, and changing that terminology. Another one starts touching on licensing a bit, Johnny. Can anyone get actions assigned to them? How does all that work?
Yeah, so when we went through the piece that was talking about the actions, the same thing applies when we want to be able to be, if the end user can report, we want everyone to be able to go and complete an action. So long as they have an email address, we can send them an action, and that doesn't require a license to the platform, doesn't require any payment. That's a free to use service, because we want people to close the loop.
Yeah, absolutely. And audits and inspections, a separate module, so our modular approach, I guess.
Yes is the short answer to that. Appreciate the question. We work on a modular and licensed basis in the platform. So providing we get some positive feedback from this, I guess, Paul, we might do a separate one of these webinars on audits and inspections in the new year. So yes, it's its own module where what we've covered today was really just to focus on the incidents piece. Again, if you want to have a discussion with me after the session around me taking you through how can we solve your problems in audits, I'm more than happy to do that as well.
And I think that was all from the questions online we've got there. Yeah, absolutely.
A quick check in the Q&A box.
Let's see, just loading up to see if there's any more in there. And I think, is there any scope to cover RAMs, so risk assessments and method statements, in Notify?
So Notify has the ability to cover RAMs. We're not covering that in today's session. Again, I guess it's same as the audit.
Could be February or
Could be, absolutely. So if we find that you're gaining some value from these sessions, we'll absolutely put some more on some of our other modules and how we've solved problems in that. We have a risk assessment and method statement module, which covers the end-to-end process on that as well. So yes.
And that covers stuff like construction phase plans and stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. Pre-configured templates that have been built in by some of our construction clients to help us guide and understand how RAMs need to be built across all different sectors.
No, that's fantastic. And we'll just check the other one because we've got a couple of mediums where questions are coming in. So we'll just see if there's any more. Looks like that could be it. Final call for any questions, please. So I think that's probably all from us today. So thank you all for taking the time out of your busy Wednesday morning. As Johnny said, any questions or anything, more than happy to answer them offline after this session. Please do get in touch, and please also do give us some feedback. If you thought this was valuable, let us know. If you thought it wasn't too valuable, also let us know that, please. Yeah, well, that one in January may or may not happen. We'll find out.
Let us know what you want to see next.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your time, and have a great Christmas when it comes.
Perfect. Thanks all.
Take care now. Bye for now.